Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm going to be playing Palworld on Steam Deck thanks to PocketPair for providing a code of the game. So it's been a while since this game came out. I don't remember when, but I have a video that I made on Steam Deck when it came out. Nowadays it's verified, they've been fighting with Nintendo on court, and it's also on PS5. So this game came a long way, at least when it comes to updates. When it comes to compatibility, all green, but as usual, UE5, verified UE5, you know how it is. Everything is as default, nothing special. The only thing that I did change is that when it starts the game, I choose DX12. It helps significantly. So by default, we're on the lowest settings, 800p, basically everything on the absolute lowest, even no anti-aliasing, which is rare on UE5, at least in my experience. The only thing that is not on the lowest is the built-in raw distance, which is at 100. But other than that, we're at the absolute lowest, but it's native resolution. I'm pretty sure we can improve on this one, so let's get right into it. And well, I'm a very early level 8, and I honestly haven't played this game much. I started playing it a few months ago, I think, but it hit 1.0, that's why I wanted to revisit it. I have a few pals here and there, a small base, crafting some stuff, but at the absolute lowest, we're at native, yeah, but we're getting not great performance. Also, keep in mind that we don't have any shadows, we don't have decent draw distance. You can see all the pixelation over there. But at the absolute lowest, we also are running at native, which I find pretty funny. But here you got, well, I think you can see what it looks like. Honestly, no shadows, I think it looks pretty bad. Doesn't really look like a verified experience to me, unless you're playing UE5, which is what we're doing right now. So it's very simple. I'm going to show you what my settings are to have a good balance. So in the settings, I'm doing something like this. Anti-aliasing, we're pushing this to TSR. This is going to lower the resolution with upscaling to like 70%. I couldn't choose that in the options menu, but my config file by default, when you choose TSR, is like 70%. All this on medium, including the built-in draw distance. So medium, medium, medium. You might be able to push this texture quality to high, but I recommend not doing that. Camera shake, I'm not a fan, so I turn it off. And you can change the FOV and the right camera distance. But that's basically the updates. And VSync off, personal preference, because SteamOS already does it. Ask you if you want to apply the settings and that a restart is needed. You put yes. Then you confirm, and let's restart the game. Alright, after changing that, we're back, and now the game is a much lower resolution, obviously, which, again, on the smaller screen, as I generally say, is less obvious, but I cannot deny that this looks significantly better than the default very low setting. Now at least we have shadows with very heavy filtering to them, better draw distance, some grass on screen, and honestly, the performance is not that far off. Instead of the 40s going into the 60s, it's into the upper 40s, dropping into the 30s. In this case, I'll just lock the frame rate to 30. I have a lot of characters on screen. I do have a few pals with me, but it's not really, again, we're low level. We're also not online playing with other people, which I'm going to show you in a bit. This is just the single player experience, which I'll just lock it to 30. Also, as you'll see, the draw distance of the grass is pretty poor, but I played it on my big PC on the highest settings, and it still did have pretty poor draw distance on the grass, so I'm not sure if that's a bug or something else. But so far, I think this is pretty decent considering it's UE5, of course, pretty low resolution, but again, that's to be expected. It's much higher than, say, in performance upscaling. Seems to be like 70%, which is close to quality. It does look like balance though, but still, this is TSR doing its job. And if I'm using any other upscaler, it doesn't even allow me to change the amount of upscaling that we're doing. It's just either TSR, TAA, which is native, FXAA, which is native, or no anti-aliasing at all. That looks super aliased as usual. But again, on the lowest settings, we're even CPU limited, funnily enough. But again, no shadows, no art style anywhere, color correction is gone. Here at least you do have something to look at that looks decent enough. I'm not sure if we do not have reflections. Yeah, I think if I put effects on high, I do get reflections, but it's too much of a hit. But again, overall, in comparison to the day one experience on Steam Deck, this is night and day. I mean, you have even shadows on the smaller grass blades. The textures are pretty poor, but you can increase the texture quality to high if you want to. I just do it if you're doing a long play session and you're doing multiplayer. You maybe want to limit the amount of VRAM the game is using. I don't have this one. Hold up. No, don't kill them. And as you can see, the refresh rate of the animations at certain distance is pretty low. But again, that's a sacrifice that needs to be made. As I get closer, the animations get a higher rate, so it looks smoother. And I'll lock it to 30 also, just due to the fact that the frame times are very inconsistent. And you're dropping into the 30s anyway. So I think this is a decent balance of visuals and performance, all things considered. And again, we still have shadows and stuff. And some eggs. And I'm dead. I'm super dead. But at least it's a good amount of enemies to show off. Okay, I got my things, but now there is more enemies fighting themselves. That was pretty helpful, actually. They're taking the health away. But nowhere enough damage to get them. Jesus. So again, here we're also CPU limited, so locking it to 30 makes a lot more sense. Because when there's more than 5 enemies attacking me, the CPU just cries. Which I find pretty funny. To a server that has like 24 people, I think. And when you get to a server for the first time, obviously you have to make your character from scratch. And this is basically more of a stress test for me, because as you can see, there's a lot of built-in stuff and other pals. So as you can see, that kills the Steam Deck, especially when it comes to the CPU. Although I'm noticing some stuff improves as like a couple minutes go through. This, again, just a server I know has a lot of items. There's probably something bigger out there. There's also ping, probably. Not sure if this server is too far away and makes it worse. But there's a lot of stuff. Lowering the resolution in this case wouldn't do anything. Yeah, I mean, this is way too much for the Steam Deck. Again, I'm not usually playing this game. It's just a random server I hopped on that I know had a lot of structures and characters and pals out there. So for multiplayer, probably not a great idea. But you can also play offline on your own. It's all up to you there. Let's try a smaller server. And this, yeah, this is another person's space. But again, moving the camera is not what is destroying performance like before. Just moving around doesn't kill it, which I think is a big deal. So if you're doing a server with your friends, that's probably not a problem, unless you're like 22 people with a huge custom base each. Yeah, here I'm loading another server that I didn't have a character on, that is nighttime now. And loading the server for the first time took forever. It was the same server as before, but okay, exactly. And as you can see, there is custom bases, there is quite a few pals very close, and there's stuff loading in the background. So the CPU kind of dies. If you wait a few minutes, it improves, it goes to 28, 29. But as you can probably notice, it drops pretty hard, which makes sense. For most people, what does this mean? Well, if you're doing a custom server with your friends, unless you have something super complex like here, you should be fine. But most people are probably going to have I don't know, one base each, maybe 5, not super close together necessarily. So if you're playing with your friends on your own instead of on one of these public servers that they wipe out every few months, I would still get it on Steam Deck. I wouldn't consider it verified considering what this runs like. It's still UE5 on Steam Deck at the end of the day, and while that's impressive, let's be honest here, I wouldn't say verified makes a lot of sense, especially with the default settings. The default settings are like very low settings at native resolution, which runs very similar to this, but with a higher resolution and no shadows, which looks horrible. So I would still recommend this game on Steam Deck, yeah, but not really to play on a big server like this online. If you're into that sort of thing, maybe do it on a PC. But if you're playing, again, solo or a small server with your friends that doesn't have all this custom stuff, then you should be good to go. Most people are probably going to be fine. Just logging it to 30 with the settings that I showed you at the beginning. Again, verified, I don't know. I don't think so. Verified in a way for single player, sure. For multiplayer, at least not in this scale. And by the way, I'm very close to the server. I saw I'm 30 milliseconds, so the ping is pretty low. But probably the Steam Deck cannot really handle loading all this stuff at the same time. But it's a nice reference. So good thing I found this server that has a lot of assets and stuff. It's pretty large, actually. I'm pretty surprised. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Is it verified? Should be just marked as playable? What do you guys think? Do you play this on Steam Deck? If you do you use my settings or do you use the default ones, which I think look horrible? So yeah, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.